Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In our last video, we talked about three different methods to factor a quadratic equation. Factoring a general trinomial by the greatest common factor method, and we use AC method or the slide and divide method. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how do we factor a quadratic equation, but it's not the method that we talked about in the first video. Difference of squares, right? Let's do an example to see what I mean by that. Okay. So this again is a quadratic equation. As you can see, this is a polynomial with the highest degree of 2, and it fits the general form: ax squared plus bx plus c. Now we can't really see the x term because the b term. The b term is 0, which makes the x term disappear. So it's just the x squared, and the constant term is still a quadratic because it's polynomial with a degree of 2. Now the way we factor things like this is we write the x squared, and we would change the constant term into a square of something. Now this is just 1, so 1 is the square of itself, so 1 squared. It's the difference of squares, so this square and this difference is, just like the method says, difference of square. When we have something like this, the way we write it in factor form is like this. X, again, x and x, and what we're going to do is we're going to write plus and minus, and then the constant term, which is 1 and 1. So x plus 1, x minus 1 is a factor of x squared minus 1. Now let's check if it is right or not. I'm just going to expand this thing to get x squared minus x plus x minus 1. Now if you have trouble expanding the factors, you could request us in a video, and we would make a video to take care of that. Right? Okay, so this is x squared minus 1. So this is what we started in the beginning. So this is correct. It's a factor of x squared minus 1. Alright, so we looked at all the methods to factor quadratic equations. All those 4 methods, we looked at it. Now I'm going to do one more example. Alright, to see what happens. Okay. Now again, this looks like what I just did, except there's a positive instead of negative in the middle. Now, I can write this as x squared plus, 1 squared. But there is no such thing as factor of sum of squares. This difference of square has a formula. There is no formula, or there is no way to factor this thing. One of the reasons that I chose this example was to show you guys was not all quadratic equations can be factored, and this is one of them. This cannot be factored. This cannot be factored, and we call this kind of quadratic equation as prime. Right, let's go prime. And primes cannot be factored. Right? And this ends the presentation on the quadratic equation and the method that we use to factor the quadratic equation.